Good morning and good afternoon, everybody. With me today here is Boss and me, Dave. Yes, and let me do a short introduction of myself. My name is Dave. I'm actually the channel manager for APJ, and I think with me for today, I'm very, very happy, right, to introduce you Boss, who is my colleagues, right, and he is actually taking charge in terms of the sales and development lead, right. And for today, Boss is going to give you a presentation, right, on how to sell a solution, and of course, what are the pros and cons of it, and how do we go about, all right. So without further ado, I shall hand over the plate down to Boss that will start with the presentation. Boss?
Thank you very much, Dave. Nice to be here today. My name is Boaz Barzel. I'm responsible for sales enablement in Cato Networks. And what we're going to do in this session today is we're going to focus on two aspects. The first one is overcome sales challenges and objections. And the second one is successfully position Cato versus other vendors. Now, before we start with everything, I think that one of the most important thing is to focus on why we're doing that. And on the screen, what you can see is Cato's vision of why we're doing what we're doing. And before I start with Cato, I would like to say personally, why am I doing what I do? And the reason is that in the cybersecurity space and the internet, which is our second life, we have our physical world and we have our virtual world, and we are all living there, and our businesses are living there, and it's people's livelihood and the place of work is done online today. So for me, it's like being a police officer and a doctor in the same place, where I can help many organizations and many companies secure themselves and connect themselves worldwide and allow them to conduct their business, in a good way, in a safe way. And it really resonates with what Cato is doing and the entire vision that Cato has, that you can see on the screen. And in that aspect, I want to focus on a single part of that vision and talk about the architecture that eliminates the complexity, costs, and risks. And this is our main discussion point on today. So I'm really thinking that Cato is bringing something that would really change how we're securing and doing business and connecting to the world, and future preparing the business to the future and allowing the business to move at the speed of business and not stagnating or inhibiting the business because the network and security is not able to live to the business. So we're going to focus on an architecture today that eliminates the complexity, costs, and risks, and throughout the presentation, have that sentence in your head. First thing I want to talk about is that we have a problem today, and the problem is that the way we're doing network and network security has begun to be very difficult. And the reason it's very difficult is because we're keeping adding more products and more solutions and more capabilities that are not integrated, that are coming from different vendors, that are bundled together in such a way that constantly increase complexity, and then the risks, because it creates gaps in our networking and our security. It's not stable, it's not unified throughout the business. And in 2019, Gartner talked about the solution for that problem, which is convergence. And they coined the term SASE, Secure Access Service Edge, as you're all familiar with at the moment. And in that aspect, Cato, that started from 2016, has really built a converged network and security. And we were also including a single pass cloud engines. So the two aspects that I'm gonna discuss about today is one is Cato Space, the single pass cloud engine, and the second one is the single management. Those two distinct capabilities with Cato is what really sets Cato's architecture as, you know, the true SASE and the first SASE in the world, and it really allows our customers and organizations to become more secure and have a strong networking optimization and a global presence that doesn't require them to compromise on anything. So let's start with the Cato Space. Cato Space is our single pass cloud engine, and it's divided into three parts. So the first part is flows. Everything flows through Cato. So in the Cato architecture, the convergence between the network and security means that everything, all the flows, the users, the information, the applications, IoT devices, so everything is connected to the Cato global backbone, and it's a Cato POP essentially. And from that point, we can see all the context. We understand identities, networks, we understand the data that flows, the different applications, the different accounts, and basically everything is exposed to the Cato cloud engine. And then when you have a policy, we can set a policy based on all that information. And the advantage here is that in a lot of solutions, what we see, we only see part of the information, or we only get part of the information and we don't get the full context. This is why a lot of products create mistakes in identification, mistakes in where I need that to be blocked, but it's allowed anyway. And in some cases, the management of all these different products is very difficult, which create a problem because it creates a lot of risk in the policy. And the idea is that it's not just the management that allows me to manage everything from a single console, okay? It's the ability behind the scenes to see all the different flows and to react to them in real time. So we have different types of policy, the access based on the zero trust network access model with a single sign-on, the network traffic optimization, and of course the security that's already built into the architecture. That means that if I'm adding a new security capability, for example, a cloud access security broker, I don't need to change the architecture. I don't need to change the way the traffic moves between different location. I don't need to create a proxy. I don't need to put another appliance, okay? It's just part of the same engine. It will be an addition to the same engine, the same way the architecture works. And it really allows us to have up to 2 gigabytes from a single edge with full decryption and with all security engines. That means that if I just put an appliance there in a year or 2 years, I'm going to add some more capabilities, I'm going to add some more users, and then the traffic requirements will grow. I'll need to replace that appliance. With Cato, it doesn't count, so we don't need it. We always get the bandwidth that we want, no matter the amount of services and optimizations that we put into it. The second part of it is the Cato management. And the Cato management is one console. It's not unified, it's not integrated, it's one console, and everything is developed into the same console in the same way, and all the different services are talking with each other in a native way. So the architecture is a cloud native architecture, so you really get a single place, a single pane of glass for all the different security events. When you're using APIs and automations, there is one API. You don't need to connect multiple different solutions that work differently and have different types of API, which really reduce the cost of maintenance, and one policy. So if you have a single policy that you can manage your security, for example, then you're less prone to human errors. And one thing I say that integrated and unified is not SASE. If I take different types of point solution and I just mash them together and I call it SASE, that's not really what SASE is all about. SASE is about a true convergence and a cloud native and a global backbone that serves all edges. And it really is something that reduces a lot of the complexity and the cost from customers. So let's talk about how to win network and security business with Cato. And it basically summarizes everything that I talked about. And we're focusing on the SASE architectures and strengths. When you talk about Cato, you always start from a SASE architecture and Cato strength. Okay, don't go and compare point solutions or specific features one by one, because this is not the true innovation and a true vision of what Cato brings to customers. And if you're going with the SASE architecture and Cato architecture, it's a much stronger offering, and it really is innovation in the network and network security landscape. So first of all, focus on cloud-based, unlimited compute power. It doesn't matter how many users or sites or different types of technologies, capabilities, and features you deploy and you operate inside that architecture. You always get the ability to do whatever you need without replacing anything. And it's globally available. You don't need to set up sites. You don't need to send appliances and additional appliances, and then IT personnel to maintain and upgrade and patch the different type of appliances. And there's no backhauling. So everything is streamlined. All the traffic is decrypted once, inspected for network optimization and security after that decryption, and then re-encrypted when it's going to the destination. And this is one of the things that is really strong with Cato, as we have our own global backbone backed with tier one suppliers, which means that we have a stable connection all around the world. And we support all edges. So it doesn't matter if your application resides in the cloud and you have people working from home using their mobile devices and PCs, and you have physical sites that some are branches, some are it's the HQ and the data center. So it doesn't really matter where you are. We're supporting all that edges with all the capability. It makes no difference which edge is connected to the SASE, Cato SASE architecture. So it's a single converged solution, and everything else that we're seeing today in the field is a lot of pieces glued together to present some sort of similar SASE architecture. Let's start talking about some of the challenges that we see that our partners have, in the field, and talking about Cato. So first of all, innovate to keep customer in business and secure. So part of our responsibility is to make sure that our customers are successful. Okay, the reason why we're doing what we're doing is to help our customer become more successful in what they are doing and achieving their goals. Okay, that's the reason why we're doing that. This is the reason why we're coming to them and providing them an architecture that will allow them to be successful in their business. And let's cover some fundamentals. So first of all, the cost of network and security keeps increasing, okay? And of course, the amount of services and products, the old way of doing things, and in previous and traditional architecture, we just kept adding more and more and more different products to cover specific needs. And this is how we build the architecture. Some time ago, we might revamp and use a single vendor or reduce the amount of vendors we have to build that architecture, but it's still different products that are either some sort of an integration together, or there is no integration. They just coexist side by side. Customers are always looking to reduce the complexity and cost, okay, because they are trying to succeed in their business. And when our network and security teams and our IT struggles to support the business, then we understand that what we're doing today can be much better. It's not that it's not working, but it can be much better, and it will really help us become more successful. Now, you as a partner, you are a trusted advisor, and you might recommended the current architecture that they are using, and maybe some long ago. So in some cases, it might say, okay, I've recommended that, let's say, a year ago. Why should I come and recommend a different architecture? Okay, what's the reason? And the reason is that the customer is constantly asking you to innovate and learn and be their trusted advisor and say, listen, I found something that could really help you, that will lower the cost and complexity. You'll become more secure, and on the business side, you'll be able to conduct your business much better, much faster than you did before. So it's our responsibility, and your responsibility towards the customers, to keep them in business and secure. Now, customer existing architecture might be an inhibitor for their business, and we understand that. And when we see the IT teams struggle, and they are following different tickets and different tasks, and having hard time to understand what is the next best thing to do. And so they're looking at you, their trusted advisors, to find the right solution that will benefit them the most, that will help them become more successful in what they do. So what we do today, and as Gartner said in their SASE releases, and they're doing that for 3 years in a row, and you can see that Cato is a sample vendor in SASE space for Gartner, is that you need to propose a SASE architecture. You need to reduce the complexity and cost, and having a strong security and network posture inside the organization that will help them not only to be successful in their business, but the people that you are working with, those IT people that you are working with, will have a better time. Their life will become much better because you're proposing them the right architecture that will help them. And let's cover another challenge that we see is about maintenance, cost, and complexity. And one thing I said, and I didn't say it originally, it's General George Patton from the US said it in the previous century. So if it's not simple, it will simply not happen. And I really relate to it because it's also a saying in the army, is that we need to keep everything as simple as possible. So first of all, complexity is risky and expensive. The more complex our architecture, the more risky it will become, and eventually it become very, very expensive, because it's not just the cost of the products or the cost of the service that I want. It's also the cost of training and expertise that I need, and operation. So there's a lot of additional costs to just buying the solution. And the increasing demand in updates and upgrades and sizing and newer appliances, and replacing appliances that are no longer fit for that type of organization, creates a lot of complexity and a lot of effort from the IT teams. And sometimes if you're managing that solutions with your customer, it takes a lot of effort from you, and it really becomes something that it's hard to manage, and you're thinking to yourselves, okay, there must be a better way. There's no way that we need to do that like we've been doing that for the past years, and spending most of our time just doing mundane stuff. Now, integration, of course, with different vendor appliance and identifying issues is not easy. If you're troubleshooting something and you need to switch between different consoles and different managements and different support teams from different vendors, it's hard. It's not simple, and the customer is the one that's suffering in the end, because it takes them longer to find those issues that right now are really bothering them, and they're not open to do anything else. Now, service vendors like Cato, they take away the complexity. That means that everything becomes more simple, and by doing that, we're reducing the cost and all the overhead that creates from integrating different types of vendors, and reducing that and providing a lot of the solutions as a service. So basically a SaaS model, and that means that all the complexity is done by Cato. So Cato experts are the ones that are building and maintaining and upgrading on a weekly basis, okay? And the support is just Cato. So you're just talking with one person that has full control over the entire architecture, which makes troubleshooting very, very easy. Now, the Cato SASE architecture, of course, is a global cloud native that converges network and security and supports all edges. And also, as I said before, managed from a single console. So there is a single place to do everything that you need. Now, another challenge that I heard about, and this is around security comparison. And when you start comparing different security vendors, and we're going to talk about it more in a few minutes, but when you start comparing different security vendors and they say, okay, they have that security feature and that security feature and that security feature, and going back to why we're doing what we're doing, it's not about the features themselves. By security by itself is not a solution. Okay, we're not selling security because it will solve all the problems. Okay, and make coffee. So it doesn't do that. And security is one part of the solution, and it's not where we start. We need to have a strong architecture that is an enabler for the customer business goal. And security is the same thing. It must be an enabler. And in that aspect, we need connectivity and performance. If our users cannot work, cannot do what they want, even a very strong security posture will not really help them, and the customer will not use it. They will say, okay, I can't use that. It's not allowing me to conduct my business. I will move it to the background operation. And by doing so, we're basically throwing away all the beautiful security features that we just deployed because the business can't handle them. Okay, because there's a lot of pressures on the IT teams that the security is a hindrance, the security is an inhibitor, it's not an enabler for their business, and then security will practically not exist even if they bought the best security that money can offer. So if you're not using that and you're not using everything that you need in a right way, then it will not work. Now, security best practices also require a lot of expertise and are hard to maintain. You need to monitor, analyze, and improve constantly. Security is not something you just deploy and forget. It doesn't work like that. So you need something that will also help the customer become more secure. And the solution for that is the same solution we talked about. And the reason is, one, it's simple. It's much, much easier. And all the complexity and the security and maintenance and upgrades and the monitoring and analyzing can be done by Cato. So you're reducing a lot of that labor from yourselves, from the customer. And by doing so, you're actually providing a much stronger security posture with best practices and with all the different capabilities that you need in order to keep secure the business and the customers. Now, if you go to a security comparison feature by feature and a small capabilities by small capabilities, what you'll see is that it doesn't match. And it's true, because Cato's main business is the architecture, okay? And we have amazing security, and we're constantly publishing more. And if you're following our releases, you'll see that we have a very, very, very strong security posture, and we can compete with any other security vendors. So it's true, we don't have all the feature, and we don't have all the different small capabilities that security vendors might say, listen, they don't have that small feature, so it's not worth it. But in reality, do the customer use that small feature? Probably not. Do they use other feature? Maybe not as well. So the reason to do that security comparison on paper is not helping the customer. It's not really security. It's the fact that security needs to be used with best practices in the right way and constantly being monitored, analyzed, and improved. Otherwise, it doesn't matter how many features you have or how many appliances I'm going to throw at that customer. And with Cato, it's not all or nothing. Okay, there are different benefits for every partner and every customer. So you can do gradual deployment and gradual purchase. You don't need to buy an expensive appliance right now and hoping that in a year or 2 years, you're going to utilize it more and use all the security feature. Okay, so it's all about the architecture, and it's simple. So if you want to expand with Cato, it's just a few clicks of a button, because it's the same architecture. As you can see, it's the same global backbone. It's the same POP where we are connected to, and everything done in the POP level. And the network and security architecture's sole purpose, again, it's to enable, support, and secure the customer business. Okay, it's not about the security itself. It's about how it will benefit the customer. And in that aspect, the solution can be, integration between existing architecture like SD-WAN and different security appliance with Cato, and then gradually purchasing more capabilities and deploying more and more sites and more users. Okay, and you can start small, solve an immediate challenge that you have, and then grow with a few clicks of a button, because once you deploy Cato, you're starting using the same architecture, the same true SASE cloud native architecture that can serve all edges and has a single management, and it will not change. Now, when we talk about objection handling, we talk sometimes about value versus cost, okay? Because like we said before, we want to do some cost reduction. And if we start building it and we're looking at some of the main building blocks, we can see MPLS, we can see WAN optimizations, next generation firewall, VPN, sometimes additional security feature like anti-malware and IPS and so on. And you can see that you have the current network spend and security and access spend. So if you take that with most other vendor and you compare all that package, not a specific point solution, but comparing architecture to architecture, what you'll realize that on the architecture level and on the long run, so moving on to the future and in the long time, you'll see that the future spend with Cato will be reduced. Okay, so it might be the same cost right now, but if you include also the cost of maintenance and you include the cost of the IT personnel and the expertise and the training that they need and the amount of time that they spend on solving different issues with the current architecture, what you'll see is that Cato really reduces the cost now and also in the future. And you also get more. So right now, your architecture may not support security in the same way that they do for mobile users and laptops, for example. And with Cato, you can bring that and make it simple that everyone gets the same level of security, same level of optimization in the entire world. Some say that we're a young age. Some say that we don't know if we're going to be here in the next year or 2 years or 3 years. And I'm going to tell you right now, we're definitely going to be here. And we've already raised more than $330 million from very, very strong vendors that invest in companies like Palo Alto, for example. And we have Shlomo and Gur that you already know about, and they are very, very strong in the industry. This is not their first rodeo. We have more than 900 customers and 250 mobile users that are using our architecture on a daily basis. And we have a lot of testimonial and customer success story recognitions from Gartner and other analysts. And you can see that the service is continuing to grow. We have more than 65 POPs at the moment, and we're adding more POPs every quarter. So you can see that, and we're also certified, of course. So you can see that the company is really very strong, was declared a unicorn last year. So it's very it's strongly valued and it's strongly positioned in the market. Even in single pop opportunities. So you're saying, okay, you're talking about global, but I'm doing a regional kind of a deal and a regional kind of job. So why should I use Cato? So for that, I can tell you all the different all the things that we talked about, space and a single management and traffic optimization is true also because everything is done in the POP level. So all the information goes to a single place, the management become easier, the maintenance become easier, the updates become easier. And when we add more features and more capabilities and more services, it will be in the same place under the same architecture. You don't need to buy a new appliance. You don't need to size and upgrade the existing appliance. You don't need to install a new to do an upgrade for the OS. Okay, I'm sure you've done that, or you've heard about it. Just upgrading the OS is a risk by itself. You don't need to do it. Everything, all the complexity is done by Cato, and we're doing that with all the best practices and with gradual deployments and making sure that our customers are in business all the time. We're providing 5 nines SLAs for customers. That is more than cloud vendors even provide today. So, and once we say that, we have a regional type of deal, the majority of the traffic is not latency sensitive. So it's true that WAN optimization globally is very, very strong, but also in a POP level, we can see that, for example, you're sending traffic from mobile users and branches. One thing you can do, you can connect branches to talk with each other without going up to the POP level. That's one thing you can do. But the second thing is this really helps you stop, for example, lateral movement, because everything will be inspected in the POP level and the traffic will be blocked, the attack will be blocked at the POP level before it reaches its destination. So there's a lot of advantages also in the security aspect of it. Very good. So in the last couple of minutes, I want to talk about a competitive insights. I want to focus on a specific vendor, and we have multiple vendor competitive insights, so you're more than welcome to send us questions and reach out to us for more competitive insights and additional challenges that you have that we're going to help work together and solve that. And one of the things that I want to focus on is the way that Palo Alto and other vendors are building their SASE. Okay, so what they did is, and we're dividing it into three parts: connect, secure, and run. What they did, they created, for example, they bought CloudGenix, and they say, okay, you want SD-WAN, here, CloudGenix, you can connect your cloud DC and your branches and then your own premise DC, and then you need to deploy Prisma Access for a zero trust network access and configure different quality of service for different services going for different locations. And in that case, you don't really have a solution for global connectivity. Even if you use GCP, they are not globally available. They have about 20 something POPs or 30 POPs that you can use for the services that you need. And it's not really the entire world. And you need to set up it, and you need to set it up by yourself. So this is something that you need to deploy and set up. Now, if you want to secure, you need Prisma, for example, for internet security. And if you want a network next generation firewall and additional security services, you probably need to deploy their appliances. And if you want to manage it, you either use Prisma or Panorama. It really depends on the amount of services or capabilities that you want, and they have different levels, and you need to choose the management. And then to have an AJ and load balancing, you just need to deploy more appliances, which will require you to probably send an IT staff, and it's needed everywhere, which includes more costs. And you have multiple configuration platform. And for the logs, you need to add Cortex Data Lake for log aggregation. So what you see is that it's not a single architecture. They took a lot of point products and they said, okay, you need to buy all these point products and all these packages and do a lot of work and choose your management, and basically it's not all integrated. And by doing so, we're offering you SASE, but it's not really SASE because it's not cloud native. You still need appliances. It's not globally connected. It's not convergence because you're still using different solutions. It's the same vendor, but it's different products and different solutions. And it doesn't support all edges in the same way because for the different edges, you need different types of appliances. So if you're choosing, for example, the SD-WAN appliance, and some has the SD-WAN branch, for example, and another branch has a PA 2200, then basically it means that they don't have the same level of networking and they don't have the same level of security, which is not SASE. So complexity didn't go away. And we're talking about, for example, on Telco and MS Bundle. So you see that if you take everything together, the entire architecture, what Cato is offering, and you compare it to other third-party compute and complex management, you see that Cato is more efficient, more affordable. It's much faster to react. Okay, when sending different tickets, sometimes to different vendors, it takes time to do them, especially if you're in different management. It's more rigid, whereas Cato is always going to be plug and play. Everything is done from a single place, very easy. Even a socket, you just send a socket, let anyone connect it to the power, the WAN cable, the LAN cable, that's it. You don't need to do anything beside that with the socket, just put it where you want it to be. It's evolving, and it's constantly evolving on the same architecture and the same platform. You don't need to buy another point solution or another box, or relying on different vendors to supply to you different type of capabilities, because you want to do something. You have a use case, and now you need to run between 4 or 5 different vendors to be able to perform that use case. With Cato, same architecture, same vendor, and it's a SaaS delivered. That means that you don't need to do anything. Just tell Cato that we're working together, and Cato will do that for you. And of course, the management, it's a full management. Now, in that aspect, the customer can have full visibility, and also doing the minute operation, they can do that by themselves. They don't need to open a ticket and wait for about 2 weeks to do that. And on the private backbone side, before I end, and I'll just expand everything here, is what you can see is that in that aspect, you can see that Cato has SD-WAN and enterprise security and SDP with zero trust network access, WAN optimization, service availability in China and mainland. That's the same service, not like AWS or Azure that are isolated, but it's the same service. And the number of POPs and the SLA. So what you can see, it's a much stronger architecture, globally available, that continues to progress and continue bringing all the best network and security aspects to a customer. So it's true that if you compare us feature by feature with a security vendor like Palo Alto, they have more features, okay? But the question is, do we use, or are we using all these features? Is it wise? What do we need to do? How much effort will it take? Will I use the best practice or just deploy it with the default configuration? Forget about it. And with all these great features, I'm only using 10% out of it. That with Cato, I'm going to get 10 times better just by deploying it and having a single management to do it. So let's summarize. First of all, we are 100% channel focused, a SaaS model, and that's very, very, very good deal for everyone, for all of you. And the second thing, it's a true convergence. It's not a bundle of different point solutions and different managements and integration. The architectures allows you to sell security as a service. Or if you're a networking and you're more focused on the networking, you can provide a very strong security as a service for your customers. If you're more focused on security, you can provide a strong networking with a global presence, with optimization, and the security is on top, and you don't need to worry about maintaining and upgrading and updating and analyzing and doing a lot of work. You'll be able to do it from a single management console and provide a lot of value to your customers. Of course, we have the global backbone with a very strong SLA. We have a 5 nines SLAs. We eliminate the edge network and security appliances needed. The downtime and upgrade of patch firmware. So you need to do an OS upgrade. Okay, I need a downtime. I need to find some time for that. It doesn't success. It's not successful as I thought it would be. I was exposed to various problems. So you can see where I'm going with that. And you don't need to do appliance upgrade. You don't need to size anymore because we can support any size. The POP level can also be to support any type of size, and it's not something that you need to worry about. You don't need third-party management softwares to pull report. Okay, if you're using a SIEM, for example, you can continue using a SIEM and use an API to connect with our single management, but there's a lot of third-party software that will be redundant once you move to the Cato architecture, because you're using a single management that will create a lot of simplicity and easy day-to-day business. And eventually, we have an optional managed services to enhance the different capabilities you offer the customers, and you can also offer that as an added value to your customers. So thank you very much. And let me move away to Dave. So Dave, take it away.
Thank you. Boss, I need you to transfer. Yes.
Here you go.
Okay, can you all see my screen?
Yeah, we can see it.
Sure, thank you. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Now, being a channel manager, I have been asked by a lot of partners, right? But in terms of the partner portal, how do we access? What do we do? And of course, from there is how do I get access inside there? So what do you guys do with your partner portal? How do I get certifications, right? and how I do deal registration. So these are the common things that I constantly heard and I constantly go through. So today, I'm going to make use of this quick session for me to run through with you, just to recap, right, to some of you. And of course, if you got questions, you can always feel free, right, to check with us, and we'll be here to help you, right. So when you go into our Cato's partner websites, right, to get into the partner portal, it's actually quite straightforward. Just go into partner there, right, and then you choose partner portal, right. And once you get inside here, you'll be greeted with two things, right. Now, if you have an existing account, you can always key in your name and a password. But the other question I constantly asked was, how does my engineers or my sales personnel get inside, right? Okay, so what you do, you choose not a member yet, and then you choose to sign up. And it's actually quite straightforward, right? Get them to enter their email address inside here. And what you do is that the system will check the domain, and they will recognize the domain of the company, and it will flash out on the domain and the name of the companies that you're from, right? So some companies have one domain but multiple countries, right? So as such is that when they register as a partner, they register for multiple countries. So you have Singapore, you got Malaysia, you got Thailand, all those, right? So when you key in your email address with the same domain, it will list out all of the companies that has the same domain there, and you choose the right domain of the company group that you're from, right? And once you choose to proceed, they will set up the partner portal for you, okay? So that is one of the way for you to address. Now, once you get into the partner portal, just let me go through with you, right? You're greeted by the front page here. And what happened is that the latest news and information will start to pop up on the screen here. So I'm going to remove this, right? So from a clear screen, you can see this is the main console, right? And key thing that I always get from partner was, where do I get training, right? And how do I get certified, right? So for today, I'm going to go through this with you. So if you look at the top of the screen here, you'll see training, right? Just click onto training. And what you will do is that you're greeted with 4 courses that are available for you now, right? So Cato Support Engineer, this is for pre-sales, right? And post-sales for you to take, right? And of course, how to use this portal, this is very straightforward. I don't have to talk more, right? But sales training and certification, this is the one for salesperson, right? So we will teach you what is our solution, what do we do, how do we do, what is the strength and weakness, right? Go through this course. Each of the module ends, you'll be greeted with a test. You need to pass 80%, right, in order to progress to the next stage then, right? And once you complete the whole module, you will get your sales certification, right? And of course, for those of you who wants to learn more, right, or who wants to know what is the basics of security, what do you mean by WAF or DDoS or a lot of DLP, all this thing, you can basically attend with security basics course here, right? And what I'll do is that they will greet you, right? They'll go through with you the basics of the security itself, okay? Now, another thing to take note was pipeline, right? Just to take note, if you have a deal, don't call the sales straight away, right? Always perform a deal registration, right? And that is for new deals, right? For renewal, always call the sales straight away and they will work on the renewal for you, right? But for new projects that you're going to embark on, right? Yeah, always remember to do a deal registration, right? And when you do a deal registration, it's actually quite simple. You need to have the customer names and information, right? And of course, if you can, do provide us additional information so that we are able to help you, right? To identify more, and we are able to guide you on how to work with the customers, okay? Yeah, but key thing to take note here is that a lot of the partners does ask me this question, right? After I deal reg, where does it goes to, you know? And how do I do it? And how do I know that the deal has been approved or not, right? So once you submit your deal reg, right, you will go to the channel manager handling that region itself, right? And when they check on the deal, they'll always make sure that is there a duplication or if there's no duplication, right? If there existing deal, they may check with you for more information, right? Yeah. And but if the deal is already worked on by partners, right? Means to say if that partners is already conducting a proof of concept, we will reject the deal, but we will let you know. Okay. So just to take note. But if the deal has been approved, you'll be assigned to the salesperson. The salesperson will then work with you with his pre-sales to come inside, right? So a common question that I always get from partner is, Dave, I have a deal and I want to work with you now for POC. Let's jump into POC, right? Then I will always tell you, no, from a channel perspective, we take care of the partners, right? Yeah, the partners enablement, training, and those things. But if you want us to do POC, you need to do a deal reg, and this is where we will allocate the deal, assign it to a salesperson on the ground who have his own pre-sales, right? That will walk through with you through the whole proof of concept and work closely with you into getting sure that the project is closed. Okay, just have to take note. Now, another question, common question I always get from partner is, my company has 5 salesperson, right? And when I do a deal reg, I can only see my deal reg. How do I see the rest of my team's deal registration, right? So for that to happen, what you must do is, you have to drop me an email, right? And from there, you need to let me know who is the administrator of the company, right? All right, or maybe the sales manager that is the overall in charge of the salesperson. And what I can do is that I will be able to inform the sales admin, right, to tag to that person that he is the admin. And from his right, he will be able to see all of the deal registration that is clocked by his salespeople within the company itself. Okay, so this is how it goes. Okay, now another interesting thing that a lot of customers always ask me, or partners, right, is when you do POC, you need to have the socket, the Cato socket, right? So where do we get that socket, right? So there are 2 ways of getting this, right? In all countries around the region, we have distributors, and distributors do keep stocks for the socket itself, right? So that is one avenue that you can send your request or talk to our local distributor, right, in getting a socket. If you're not sure who is a distributor, you can always drop me a mail, and then I'll be here to help you, right? And I can connect you to our distributors in that region for him to help you, okay? Now, another way that you can do is to request a socket from your partner portal itself, right? So when you go into leads generation, you will see request socket for a POC, right? And just to take note that for this socket, how it does is that when you send a request through here, right, upon approval, we will ship directly to you. Just have to take note that the address that you put down here have to be the address that you are going to receive the item, okay? There are partners who told me that when they key in the name of the company, the address appears there, but it's not the address that they want, right? Or it's not the place that they want to send to. So do feel free to go back to the field here and you can change to the address that you want to receive the item, okay? Just have to take note of that. And of course, the other thing that some of the customers that I commonly get from a feedback was that for POC, right, or request through here, we will send you X 1500. So some partners say, how do I get X 1700, right? Now for X 1700 model, you cannot request to here, but you need to drop a mail to me. I'll connect you to work channel SE, who will be able to help you on that request, okay? So just take note that for the socket request through the portal is always a X 1500 to start off, all right? Yeah. Okay, now the other thing was for case study or for references. Now, some customers or partners will ask me, so who is your reference customer, or where can I get some of the reference customer from? You can always get the information from here. This is a very good cross-reference that you can get for you to reference out to your customers who are in the similar industries there, right? But should you need more, you can always write a mail to me, which I'm here to help you, okay? And of course, the last thing was that the playbook itself, if you need to do some of the readings or, probably some of the things that you wanted to get, reading material, right, for your customers to read or they're interested to know more, do feel free to come here and download these things here, all right? And of course, lastly, but not last, right, events, they are going to come up. We will always show the event here for you to register, right? So if you're interested to register for the event, just feel free to go for it, all right? Yeah, so this is probably the slides that I have here to show you, right, in terms of the partner portal. Now, for partners who have questions or when you face some of the problems into accessing into the partner portal, do feel free to drop me a mail, right? A common question that a problem that I always face was that partners say that they cannot log into the partner portal itself, but do have to take note that this is partner portal, but a lot of partner does confuse it with CC2 console. So when they get into the CC2 console, they notice that they cannot log inside that, because CC2 console basically is a different console from the partner portal itself, right? So just have to take note of that. And I think with that, I have done that with my part here. So I shall stop my screen. Okay, so so right now, this is the last part here, which is the Q&A, right? So both, there's 3 questions that has been raised by partners here.
Yes.
Okay, the first one is a simple question, but the other 2 is a bit tougher, right? So the first
Okay,
one,
so let's do it.
sure. How much percentage or saving is reduced from a typical security setup versus Cato?
Okay, so that's a very good question. Thank you very much. And of course, I can say that it really differs between the different customers and the different services that are using, because the more you're utilizing the Cato architecture and the services that we offer, the more cost reduction you have. I know it sounds a bit a bit paradox, but so the more you use Cato is a stronger point TCO. So if you have the advanced security, for example, also deployed in the architecture, then there's a much stronger offering and a much stronger reduction of TCO. Now, typically, it can, be moved between 10%, 15%, and we've seen some cases even 50, 60, and 70% cost reduction. And something that is worthwhile mentioning, when you do TCO calculation, also calculate the effort and the amount of people, because, for example, if you want to build specific architecture, and for that you need to hire 2 more people, and they're adding another, let's say, $30,000 per year of cost, because you need 2 more people, that's $60,000. With Cato, you don't need it. So you just save $60,000. And even if, let's say, the solution from Cato and the other competitor is about the same pricing, because of that reduction, you don't need those 2 people anymore, then you've just saved $60,000 that usually you don't calculate into your TCO. So when you do calculate this, you calculate the true TCO of what it will be like with that new solution or the other architecture, and not just the Cato offering. And we're also seeing around the world that in a lot of cases where MPLS is an issue there, and MPLS is usually more expensive. Not all the locations, but usually more expensive, and it doesn't really provide you everything that you need. It's not the architecture, because you need to add more and more and more capabilities on top of it, which eventually increase the TCO. So when you calculate, make sure you're doing apples to apples. You add all the soft skills and the training, expertise, and the personnel to that TCO calculation. And what you'll see is you'll see a huge reduction as you move forward with Cato, a huge reduction in percentage for every customer. So it can be something smaller, and it can sometimes become something very, very big, even a 50% reduction with Cato.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Now, the second question, this is quite interesting, right? How to position Cato SASE solutions should the market we are in mostly require only domestic connectivity? Example, local DC, local global cloud, and SaaS are in the near region. What is the value of Cato global backbone in that sense?
Okay, that's a very good question. Thank you very much. And you're right, because you're thinking to yourself, okay, I'm a regional provider. My customer is regional. They're not very big. So you're saying global connectivity and global backbone. I don't need it. But I'll divide my answer into 2 parts. The first part is that, as I've seen and I've shown here, is that just by using the Cato POP, and we have one in almost every country, then you gain what we call space, the single pass cloud engine. When you decrypt once and you gain security and optimization, even for SaaS traffic, because the SaaS might not reside. Okay, you buy a SaaS service that reside in another country. So we have the global backbone to optimize that traffic between your SaaS service that resides somewhere else and your regional location, with the added of security for everyone. So everyone that connects to Cato gets the same level of security and connectivity, and we're doing it based on identities, of course, and the zero trust model. Now, the second part of my answer is, what happens when you do want to go global, or you want to spread to another country, maybe neighboring country? Now, think about the effort that it will make, because you now need to change the architecture. So it's not just benefiting from a regional deal, but now you need to think about, okay, I need a new architecture, because either I'm doing something that I'm doing here and I'm just replicating to another country, which it's create more complexity, or I'm just using the same architecture, sending a person there or sending a socket there, and that's it, and I have everything that I need, and it's the same management, same capability. It could be even the same policy. You just add the new site to your policy, and that's it. That's all you need to do. So either working a few weeks or months to set up the new site, or sending a socket and connecting it, and that's it. It can take hours.
Thank you. And the last one, I think this is also another interesting question to which a lot of partners are quite confused, right? I understand that Cato can act as a replacement for WAN optimizer and CDN. But do Cato has multiple POPs in one country, like Jakarta, since Akamai has many points of presence to optimize their CDN delivery?
Okay, so that's also a very good question, and here I'm gonna talk about WAN optimization and CDN as two different parts. So first of all, Cato doesn't do CDN. Okay, we're not caching the edge and doing CDN services. This is not something that Cato is doing, and we're also saying that because we're not here for CDN. We're here for optimized network and security. This is what we do, and we have POPs in multiple countries, and I think that also in Jakarta, but let's say there is one in Jakarta. So we're calculating the nearest POP according to latency. So we're going to connect everyone to the nearest POP, and you'll get the full benefits of it, even if it's not in your region, or you're working in a country that doesn't have a POP in that country. By the way, in the near future, it might has. So you can work with Cato to understand where are all the different POPs in our plan, where are we going to add more and more POPs, because every quarter we're adding about 4 to 5 new POPs around the world. So that's something that we're keep progressing and keep increasing. And again, CDN is not something that we do, but we're doing something that can really help businesses in optimizing traffic to SaaS services and optimizing user traffic between different types of location, not just regional, but of course global. So in that aspect, yeah, we're not doing the same thing as Akamai, but I do agree for businesses, then I would start with something like a SASE architecture and build around it the different services that I would need.
Thank you. Yes, I also would like to add in from my experience, because before this, I used to come from another CDN company, right? So a lot of partners get confused with us and the SASE and the CDN. So I just want to highlight that CDN player basically means content delivery network, which primary objective is for domain protection. This is something that a lot of the partners do not know. And CDN key to security features basically is WAF, that would be web application firewall. Another one will be DDoS protection, because the key purpose of CDN is to protect the domain itself, which is something that we are not in that space of. Yeah, we are more as an infrastructure replacement, right? Which means to say, from our perspective, the way optimization we're talking about is that we can replace traditional appliance solutions like Riverbed and those kind of solutions. Yeah, which is then again is another different story from CDN deployment in that perspective. Yeah, yeah, right. So I want to thank you for our time for everybody today, right? I think we have come to the end, and we are a little bit overrun. Right? Yeah. So for partners who have more questions, please feel free to drop to us, right? Just send us a mail for me and boss. We'll be here to help you, right? And of course, if you've got more questions, right? Yeah, we are always here to help you, right? Yeah. So I want to thank
Thank you
you all
very
for
much,
our time
Dave.
again. Thank you. Yes,
Thank you very
yes.
much. It was a
And
pleasure. Find us
yes,
also. We're very close to you, so find us and talk to us, and we'll be very happy to engage with you and talk with you on anything that you need.
yes, right. So we shall see you next month, right? And for those of you, before you quit, please remember to check on the survey form, right? And do give us your feedback so that we will continue to improve the monthly webinar for you. All right. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and that's it. Goodbye, everyone. Yeah.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.